Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Guest Access Basics. Now, last month we did not get through everything we wanted to, so we're going to start from there. Again, my name is Charlie Moreton. I am a technical marketing engineer for the ISE product, and we're going to hit on these topics today. Now, the other guest settings is something that we weren't able to get through last month, so we're going to jump right into that. It's not a lot, but it's something that we do need to talk about. And the biggest thing we need to talk about is the purge policies that we can set up for our guest accounts. Now, we do have the guest account purge policy in the guest access work center. And with that, we can remove the guest accounts themselves. Though this can be done manually through the sponsor portal, we use this purge policy to go through and clean out the guest accounts. Kind of an automatic schedule type thing, which depends on the type of guests that you use. We went through the guest types last month, and depending on how long you allow those guest types to be to exist and to log into your networks, you can change your schedule to purge those accounts. Now, the other thing that we have for purge policies for our guests is that we have an endpoint purge policy. Now, this isn't shown in the guest access work center. This is in our identity management part of ISE, and it's because it's not a guest specific purge policy. It's for all endpoints throughout ISE. So we can use this policy to remove endpoint MAC addresses, and this gives us more leeway on what we can do with our guest devices. Also, with our guest types, we have a maximum number of guest devices that you can register, and this helps to clean that out as well. I bring up both these because you use both of these policies together, and it helps keep your database clean, efficient, and working the fastest that it can. The other thing that we need to talk about is something that's brought up in every one of our guides, and that's to enable the portals for JavaScript customization. And the way that we do that is we go into our admin access menu, and we enable the portal customization with HTML and JavaScript. Now, since we're using JavaScript, there's going to be coding ahead. There's a lot of code in this whole presentation today. I think there's going to be more text on these screens than I've ever shown as static text. So just be forewarned for that. The other thing I want to bring up about this setting is that it really doesn't matter. We have actually found that whether you enable this or not, you can still put the JavaScript in to your portals and it'll work correctly. All of our guides call out that you need to go ahead and enable this, and that's our recommendation. With ISE 3.1 and 3.2, this setting is actually not there because, like I said, we found that this doesn't really even matter. So we don't even have a setting for it anymore. Now, with all of the scripts that we're using today, we're putting those into the optional content to text area of our portal customization tab in our web portals. And we'll show you exactly where that is as we go through and do this. But you notice the red box here, and that's the HTML source toggle button. And that's very important because before you paste your script into this text area, you have to click on that to toggle your source button on, paste your script, and then you have to click on it again to toggle the source off. The great thing is that contact support button that I showed you last month, when you put that in there, you know that you are ready to save and to use your portal if you see the button like you do in this screen. If you just see code, then you haven't toggled your source off and it's not going to work. You have to toggle it off and then save it, and then you can use your source code and it works perfectly. One of the easiest things that we've done to make customization of your portal is we've created an ISE Portal Builder, and this is going to help walk you through what you need to do to customize what elements you want to in your ISE portals. Now, when you go to the link that I show here on the screen, you're going to be presented with this screen here, and you have to log in with your CCO ID. which means if you log into Cisco to download software, to use the support forums, to look at the community documents, that's the Cisco ID that you need to use to log in to the ISE Portal Builder. And I'm going to go ahead and drop out of PowerPoint right now. And once you log in, what you see on the screen here, this is the Portal Builder. Now, as soon as you log in, you'll see all the portals that you have created yourself. If you haven't created any, then this, of course, would be blank. And you also have a template gallery. Now, we have a whole load of templates in here, a total of 10. I know, it's a lot. Sit down, don't hurt yourself. But the great thing is that this is just different ways that you can set it up. The only limitation is your imagination. So if you go in here, you choose whatever portal you want. This, of course, is the one that I chose for today's webinar, and I've customized this. If you highlight or mouse over it, it tells you some details as to when it was created and when it was updated. You can also duplicate it, you can share it, and you can delete it here, but we're going to go ahead and edit it because I want to show you some of the different elements that you can choose and update in your portal. So as you see here, I've selected the self-registered guest portal, but you can choose any portal that's in ISE to go ahead and start your customization. Once you choose your portal, let's go here. You can choose what page to customize. So we're going to start with the login page, which is the first page you're presented when your self-registered portal comes up. And then all of these different elements here, no matter what element you click on, it changes the menu to your left so that you can go ahead and change whatever you want to. So like the reset password here, you can put in your different text colors, text styles, and all of that to make it easier to read. I understand that it's hard to read due to the background here. That was purposeful, and you'll see later on what all of that does. But then you can go through every different screen and change what you want it to say, what you want it to look like. You can even change your acceptable use policy text right here in the portal builder, so you don't have to change that within ISE itself. So you can do that for all of your different pages. As you can see here, I've changed the guest webinar, the acceptable use policy. I changed the colors on that. And right here, the maximum devices reached, that's the default for the theme that I chose. And that's why I changed it. So if you want to change that color, come on, there we go. You select it, then you just choose your text color. And of course, I chose white. Now, what I haven't been able to figure out how to do here is the background shadow. So that's why it looks like it's doubled here, because there is a background text shadow on here, but I can't see anywhere in here to change that. Now, this is the background, so it draws a little black box around it. We'll show you this later on as well. And that helps a little bit, not very much though. You can also choose your language that you want for this portal as well. You have the image manager, which this is where you can upload any file that you want to use as an image in your portal. You saw that I had my background there and I had my thumbnail for ISE. You also have your desktop preview and then your mobile device preview. So you can see what your mobile device is going to look like as well. And you can check your different pages to see what all of that looks like. So if it's something that you're happy with, then you can move on and you can save it. So what we do at that point is we export. Now, when you export your portal, you want to give your portal a name so that you know which portal it is when you do upload it into ISE. You can choose a portal type. Of course, it's self-chosen for you already. Since we chose the self-registered guest, it's automatically going to default to what you chose. And then if you look here, it says get the ISE Portal Builder upload and config tool for Windows. So what that is that is a utility that's used to take the downloaded file, create the portal, and port everything over into ISE. And I'll show you what that looks like and how that works. Let's go ahead and take a look at that now. We're going to go back into our slideshow. And this here is the ISE Portal Builder upload and config tool. Once you open it up, then you add your ISE server. I'm adding in my admin node. And you can see it shows the server list and we're connected. And it tells you what version of ISE we're using. If you go back to ISE Portal Builder, it's going to ask you to log in with your CCO ID just like you did to get into the Portal Builder itself. And this is going to show you the different portals that you have on your Portal Builder. We want the guest webinar one. That's one we exported. So we're going to go ahead and export that right there. We're going to, yeah, it's a self-registered guest portal. So to click on export, I did speed this process up a bit. It does take a little while to put this into ISE. All right, so now that that is finishing up, boom, there we go. So you can either upload a new portal at this point or go to the portal we just uploaded. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to our port. Oh, so as you see here, I didn't see any of my images come up. So we're going to check this portal in ISE and see what's going on. So go over to our work centers, guest access portals and components. You can see guest webinar self-registered guest portal. And underneath that says created by ISE Portal Builder. So it's a nice indication that this is the one we just uploaded. So let's go ahead and go into that. We're going to go and check our portal test URL. And it's the same thing. None of my images have come through. So let's take a look and see over in our custom portal files. Yeah, not settings, custom portal files. This is where it's uploaded all of our images. Let's scroll down here at the bottom and we can see if our images that we put in for our background and our thumbnail have also, yep, there they are. Our background and our thumbnail. And then right above that is the JavaScript file for the portal itself. So it's got all of the elements here, but it's not actually showing it. And what I have found is that there's a bug for this. When you upload the Portal Builder files to ISE, it doesn't actually change the path that it needs to. So that JavaScript file that I showed you in the custom portal files, if you download that and do a find replace, find that first URL there that the bug is crawling across right now and replace it with the portal custom files and then re-upload that to the portal custom files directory in ISE, then all of your images will work correctly. So be aware of that. That's something that they actually had a hot patch in 2.4 and 2.6 to address, but for 3.2 they don't yet have that, and we've already, Singshu has filed a bug for it. So now that we've gone through the portal builder, we're going to go back and do some manual customizations with our Hotspot portal right now. And probably the easiest one that we can do is this. It's a single line script that we use. And what that does is it will mask the access code in your Hotspot portal, because an access code is like a password, and we don't want to have anyone doing shoulder surfing and finding any passwords. So this will actually change your attribute type to password, which will show just the dots for any characters that are typed into the access code field. It's quick and easy one there. We're going to show you a demo on how to use your Hotspot as a message portal. So say you have a blocked list or a quarantined endpoint, and ISE only allows for one blocked list portal throughout. So using your Hotspot as a message portal, we can have more than one of these different portals depending on the reason that they've been blocked for access to the network. So let's take a look and see how we do that. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our default Hotspot message portal and we're going to duplicate it. Like we said, we don't want to use our defaults. We want to use the duplicated portals so that we keep the defaults in ISE. Now, once that comes up, we're going to give this a name, which honestly, make it super simple and easy, right? Our hotspot message portal. And then when we come down to our acceptable use policy, well, we're going to skip that right now. We're going to turn on our support information page. I'm sorry. The acceptable use I'm showing later. So again, we're going to 5 spaces in the contact text box so that we can come down here and we're going to toggle on our HTML source code, of course, and we're going to paste in the JavaScript. I'm sorry, it's a gray text on a white background. And you can see we have our acceptable use policy showing here. So we're going to go back to our behavior and flow settings and turn that off, because we don't want the acceptable use policy here. We want to tell people that they shouldn't be here. So there we go. Now our message is connection successful, and we want to change that because this is something that's not successful. You've been blocked. So let's go ahead and update the messaging here, where it says connection successful. This is your browser page title. And then we also want our content to be, your device has been blocked. So we want to change that as well. We also want to change that content area. I didn't do it here and I messed that one up. So we would want to change that, and then we toggle our HTML code on. And this is where we're going to actually also put in our contact support button. So this is what it's going to look like so far. But you know what? This still looks super friendly. I don't want it to look friendly. So we can add a background here, but I don't want to use a picture here at all. And that's what this whole section is for images. So we're going to change the theme elements. So as you can see, the Portal Builder brought in its own theme, but we're going to tweak the default theme. And what we're going to do, we're just going to change the banner color. And instead of putting in the hex code, if we click on that that color, we have a color picker. So we're going to find the deepest red that we can get, and we're going to use that to let people know, hey, there's an issue. Red always means error, right? So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and save this and take a look at our hotspot as a message portal. Oh, let's change our banner title as well before we do that, so it doesn't say hotspot portal. Let's let them know that you're blocked everywhere that we can, right? So we're going to go in here. Now, when we did that, we saw that our banner was still there. And what we want to do is we want to get rid of this banner so it doesn't say, blue everywhere. We want to make sure that it's nice and red and people can understand that there's something wrong. And if we click on any other link here, which is the support information, which is the only other link, it's still a nice bold red banner at the top. So now what we would do is we would go over to our policy sets. First we want to create a new authorization profile with a limiting downloadable ACL. And what we're going to do is we're going to allow access to DHCP, DNS, and ISE, and that's it. And that's just going to allow ISE to show you the blocked portal. Now we're going to go ahead and name this blocked list, choose our downloadable ACL, come down to web redirection, choose our hotspot portal. ACL again is going to be blocked list. We want to have this ACL on any web or wireless controller that we're going to be using. Choose the exact portal we're using, and then our airspace ACL name, we're going to have blocked list as well. And the same ACL that we have as our downloadable ACL that you saw me create is going to be on all of our network devices, so that when it's blocked, it's blocked. And then from there, we can go into our policy sets. We're going to use the same policy set that we did for Hotspot Guest. It's already set up for a hotspot. Let's go in here and we're going to, well, we're just going to disable this rule right here. Then our hotspot redirect. Once you're redirected, we want you to redirect to our blocked list and get rid of that hotspot redirect. There you go. And that's all you need to do to have your blocked list. So anything that falls within whatever you want it to be blocked, whatever policy you want to set for a blocked list, that's how you create a new blocked list portal for every way. You can do it for anomalous behavior detection or anything else. And then from there, we're going to jump into self-registered guest portals. Ooh. So like I said, there's a lot of text coming up, and this is the first one of them. So this right here is the text that we need. And the first thing we're going to do for our self-registered guests is, instead of having a text link for you to register your own account that says don't have an account, we're going to create a button for it. Now this is going to put the button at the end of the page, as you can see here on the second line down. After self-reg form, it says append, so it appends it to the end. If you want to move this button up so that it's above your login information, then we put, dot before. But if you want to put this button at the top of your page, then we use Prepend. Now, don't worry, I'm going to show you all of this. And one thing I forgot to state earlier is that all of these scripts and all the code that I'm showing you is in a GitHub repository that I have, and I'll be posting that at the end of the webinar so that you can go and use all the different scripts that I've used in this webinar. And I've actually put more scripts out there as well, just to help along with that. So every script that I've actually used in live production environments, I've got in this GitHub repository for you guys. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to use that same self-registered guest webinar portal that I used last month to do this. All we're doing is we're going to create and move this button around. So we're going to go straight into the portal page customization. Of course, we're going to take it right there, that or register for guest access. We're going to take a look at the portal as you see it now. And you see I have the button for don't have an account. So I've already put that large block of code in my optional content 2 there. And that's where you see that don't have an account button there instead of the text. So if we scroll all the way back down to optional content 2, we're going to go to the bottom of that script, and right before the /script, we're going to put in one line, and that's the before line. And you see that puts it above the username and password for the login. So now if we come back down here and we change just a little bit of code, of course we have the prepend, but we're putting it before the form. So it's actually, we're changing the form name before to Cisco ISE scriptable prepend. So it's actually before the form. So we're not using the form name at all. We're using the different element of the page. So let's go ahead and toggle that. Come back up, and you can see it's all the way at the top before you're welcome. So I like this little mobile preview that we have here. This actually lets you do a lot. And now I'm going to go ahead and take that back out. I don't like it all the way at the top of the form myself. Usually I will either have it down at the bottom or just above the login username and password. Those seem to be the most preferential placements for that. And then here's one that people are asking about a lot is how do I allow my guests to use Facebook to log in? They don't have to register a new account. They can use a known username and password that they've memorized already. So first thing that you do is you have to create a Facebook developer account. And here's the link for that. Now, once you are registered as a Facebook developer, you can see on that first screenshot, you have a create app ID. And then once you create that new app ID, you will be taken to this page where you get to select what app type and all of that. So what we're looking for is the Facebook login app type. So we're going to choose the consumer app type. So once you click next there, go ahead and give your app a name and use a contact email. We're not going to use a business account, but if you look here, you can't use FB or Facebook or anything like that that might be trademarked to Facebook itself. So use something different. It's going to ask you to log in again. And then once you do, we're going to add the Facebook login applet to our app. You can see now Facebook login is over there on the left, and they have settings and quick start. Well, we're going to go straight to settings. And you can see it's going to ask for OAuth redirect URLs. All the switches are correct as far as what they need to be. So now let's go to our basic settings for our app. And the app ID and app secret are the two fields that we need to be able to connect ISE to our app for Facebook login. So copy those to your clipboard or to Notepad. Then let's go back over to our external identity sources. So we have to create the social login before we can use it in a portal. So now we go ahead and add that login source. Our app ID goes here, and then our app secret goes here. Then we save that. As you can see, Facebook is the only social media login that we support right now. And then now that that is saved, we can go over to our portals and components. Now, you know what I'm going to say? Duplicate the default, right? So the social login uses a self-registered portal. So you duplicate your default self-registered portal. Once that's duplicated, go ahead and give it a name that makes it distinguishable from the rest of your portals. Hey, Facebook, that's a good name, right? And then the biggest thing here is the login page settings. You want to scroll down to allow social login, and then this is going to say, all right, well, which identity store? The one that you just created. That's the identity store you're going to be using for that. Let's go ahead and save that. And then now that that's saved, we have to go back to that identity store that we created. And then if you scroll down here, you'll see that we have our redirect URLs that we need to put into our Facebook app settings. So I've copied all of those, go back to our Facebook login. Remember, I showed you under settings that it has the OAuth redirect URIs field. So let's go ahead and paste it in here. Well, unfortunately, that paste that all as one single entry. So you have to paste each entry separately. And as you can see, we have IP addresses as one link and host names as the other link. I've put in each one of those for both of those, and then we save that. We can go back over to our Facebook portal, and we're going to take a look at our portal test URL. As you see here, we now have a button that says login with Facebook. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that button, and it takes me straight to Facebook and will allow me to log in. I'm not going to do that. But you know what? The other thing is Look at that. It still has the text link there for register for guest access. Well, we know how we feel about that, right? So we got to fix that. Portal page customization. We're going to scroll all the way down to optional content 2. You'd think I'd scroll faster than that, right? Toggle our HTML source, paste in our source code. Then we're going to toggle our HTML source back off. You can see here that I've got the button right before my login. And if we take a look over here, we can also include our support information page. Now, again, it is my preference that I include the support information page on every portal just because it makes troubleshooting that much easier. So you put 5 spaces in the contact field here just to make that blank. Go back down to optional content 2, put in your code for the contact support button at the bottom. Toggle that back off. You see the button here. That means it's been turned off. And look at that. Contact support is now showing up. We can save our portal. And now that it's saved, let's take a look at our portal test URL. No, that's what I was going to do. I was going to show you the test users. So Facebook has this test users option so that you don't have to test with your own personal Facebook account to be able to log in. So let's go ahead and create some, right? You can have up to 200 test users per app, but you can create 4 at a time. But unfortunately, as you see down in the bottom right, Facebook has suspended the ability to do that. So you can't do that yet. So now we have to take our app and make it live so that people can actually use it to log in to our portal. Now, to be able to do that, you have to give a privacy policy URL to go live. Oh, that's not it though. You also have to have a data deletion information URL before you can go live. So those are 2 caveats that you need to know and to think about. You can either do a data deletion instructions or data deletion callback URL. I'm just going to do an instructions URL, take it live, and then we can save our settings. If you look over here in the alerts, you can see that we now have an inbox message that says your app is now live. So there we go. That's our Facebook login for social media. I know that was a lot. Bear with me. What we're going to do now is we have a lot of customers who say, I want to have a self-registered guest portal, but I also want the option to have internet only so that they don't have any resources to anything on our network. They just have internet, but I don't necessarily want them to have to register for it. So I've come up with this, which of course is going to be another self-registered guest portal. I'm going to use the same one that we did for showing you how to place the button and to move the button around for the self-registration. So what we're going to do here is I've got this new code that we come down here and we're going to paste it in here. And I'll go through this code with you as well. But what this code does is it will automatically populate a username and password that is preset by you. See here, it populated ISE Guest 3 when you clicked on internet only. Now that one did ISE Guest 2. So it cycles through 3 different accounts here. And I'll touch on why that's important in just a moment. But if we go to our portal test URL, you can see that we have that internet only button. So let's go ahead and we'll click on that. As soon as it does, it says that, oh, authentication failed. Well, why did that happen? Well, because like I said, we're using the account ISE Guest ISE Guest 2 and ISE Guest 3, we have to create those accounts. So let's go ahead and create those accounts with the whatever password that we set in this script. Again, we'll go through that in a moment. So now those are created. We'll go back to our portal, go through the guest portal, guest URL, and click on Internet Only. And now it says you have access to this network. So that's all it takes there to get that portal to work. However, if you go to your live logs, you can see that ISE Guest 3 did log in. Now, the fact that we used our test URL means that we're not going to get any other information there because it was just a test. It doesn't actually go through our policy sets. But if you want to restrict ISE Guest 3, Guest 2, and ISE Guest so that they have a different level of access, then you need to create a new authorization rule. And we're going to call this Internet Only. And part of our conditions is that we're going to, that's just too long. Let's go through the drop down. We're going to go down here, not to identity group, not to internal user, but we're going to go to endpoints and portal user. This is where it reads the information from your login. So if the portal user contains ISE Guest, and so let's go and create a new condition here, and the identity group is named guest endpoints, then we can give that a separate authorization profile, which would be internet only. I don't have an internet only authorization profile here, but you get the idea. You can change that depending on if ISE Guest 2, or ISE Guest 3 log in through that portal, then they get a different level of access. Now, one thing we talked about last month was the guest types. What I would suggest is for these accounts that you create for this internet only, is you create a separate guest type for that account. Now, the maximum simultaneous logins for these accounts is 999. And the reason that I'm cycling through 3 different accounts is because the customer that I wrote this for needed more than 1,000 guest internet only accounts. So I did 2,997, I guess, is what cycling through 3 different accounts at 999 a piece would give them. Now, once you create this new guest account, in the internal users, you need to make sure that that user is assigned to that guest type as well. All right. Okay, so now we're going to talk about something else. It's sort of the same type of a flow, but instead of having the predetermined 3 accounts that you go through, just put a link to a hotspot to the guest, self-registered guest. So they log in to the SSID, they go to the self-registered guest portal, but instead of registering their name, they can actually go and click on the hotspot and just follow the hotspot flow. Same type of a flow, except you're using a hotspot instead of a pre-configured account. So what that does is you can click on the hotspot portal button and it takes you straight to the hotspot portal. How does this work? Well, this is the code that is used for that. And what we do is, I know that this is confusing just looking at it like this. So let's go ahead and take that URL and move that down. This is the meaningful part of this code for us, really, is the URL. And if you look at the second and third lines in the actual code up above, you can see that we have variables, one being the host name and the other being the web session ID. Now, the web session ID is the radius session ID, and it's taking this information from your current portal putting it into this URL and forwarding this on to the Hotspot portal. That's how we can link the two portals together using that same radius session without making you log off and log on to a different SSID to use the hotspot. And that's how this works. So to take this a step further, I'm going to show you the sponsored guest with language portals. What I've done here is I've actually got, if you look up here, 4 different portals. You know, this is confusing. There's way too much. This is the meaningful part for what I wanted to show you. So let's go ahead and blow this up. Now, the fact that I'm using language portals here, you can use different types of portals. It doesn't matter if they're languages, if they're different level of access, if it's, you know, a higher education and you want a football game stadium or a, you know, concession stands or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just different levels of access or different portals. And we're taking the portal name and we're going to use that as the title for the buttons that we're going to use for you to choose your portals. And then the portal ID is going to be used as the link name on those buttons. And if you look down below the button template, you can see the portal link has the same type of variables that we used in our previous portal, where the host name, we're also using a port here, our web session ID, and then link. Now that link is coming straight from our button template as well. I know this is a bit confusing, and I promise I'm going to make it look a little bit better for you by showing it here. Now this is the actual portal itself, but instead of showing it in the portal test URL, I'm going to show you what it looks like if I were to connect to this with my phone using it as a live client. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to my self-registered guest portal here. All right, and my browser comes up and you can see, boom, there are my 4 different languages. I clicked on check, and this is what I get. Now I could put the same code on my other languages so I can go back to English and just switch from portal to portal, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to forget this network. I'm going to connect back to it. And then from here, once it does get connected, I'm going to choose Japanese. And you can see it takes me to the different portal there. The reason that I wanted to show you that with my phone is that with this portal, if you take a look down here at the bottom, I'm actually hovering up over the check button here. And that URL at the session ID says undefined, because using the portal test URL, there is no radius session ID. So if I were to click on any of these buttons in the portal test, it would just give me a failure because it doesn't know how to take that variable and place it into undefined. That's why I wanted to show you that on the phone. Yeah. Oh, look at that. I actually highlighted undefined. So I forgot I had the animation there. So sorry for that. All right. So like I said, I do have all of these scripts in GitHub. And if you go there and use the ISE Guest Webinar repository, that's where you'll be able to get all of these scripts and then some. We have time that I wanted to show you that internet only script. I told you that I would go through that and I would show you how that works as well. But before we get there, well, you know what? Let's do that now. Let's do that now. Let's see. Let's go to GitHub. So I've got the GitHub broken down, of course, by portals again. And if we go to internet only, let me. All right, so what we're doing here, this is the full script. If you click on the button, it has these three accounts that it's using. These are the variables for the accounts, and it randomizes those accounts. So whatever random you get from there, and it puts that in here as the username. So your variable is username from those three accounts. They all three use the same password. You can set this to whatever you want it to be. I use the standard password that everybody knows is super secure. And then the action for that button is to sign on. So once you click internet only, you don't have to click internet only and then sign on. Internet only just populates the username password and it signs on for you as well. So you could add more usernames here, update your math, whatever you wanted to do here as well. Specific instructions for the different types of scripts. If there are any, then you would have that in those script files as well. Now, with the different language buttons that I showed you, you can also do that as a drop down instead of having buttons there. So you can have a drop down box to choose your languages, or let's see. Yep. You can also do it using buttons or pictures as buttons. So if you wanted to put the different flags for the different languages that you were using, you can use those in there as well. So that is what I have to show for advanced configurations. I hope it's hopeful and get you to be able to configure and do some more advanced stuff so that you can get your guest portals to look and to feel in line with what your company website does or adds extra functionality for you. Now, the links that I have here in blue, don't worry, I know that they're not easy links. That's the name of the community posts. So if you wanted to search those, that's fine. But they all are included in that cs.co/ISE-guest. So if you go to that ISE guest community page, all of these are listed there and then some. There's a lot of information out here. I wanted to show you the ones that I have used, that I've been successful with. Everything that's in my GitHub repository, I've personally used on customer deployments that are still using them. So I know that they work, and I gladly hope that you go out there and use them as well. Honestly, guest portal customization I find rather fun.